dead. They're all messed up. All messed up.
You wouldn't give her that flower, would you?
No. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
A zombie movie with reanimated Nazis. And then how the hell did John find it?
Oh, when it came out, it was huge. Like, it was in the horror community. There's a Nazi zombie movie coming. Here's a Nazi zombie movie coming, and everybody like looked for it. I didn't. It found me.
It found you?
Yeah.
Nice. All right, well, this is Xenomania, the second episode. We're talking about Dead Snow and Dead Snow 2, which apparently hunted down our friend John over here. Kearns. There's the notable and wonderful John, and we've got the knowledgeable and quite adorable Ryan with us too. How you guys doing?
I'm great.
Yeah, I'm
Nice.
doing good. I'm excited to talk about Dead Snow, and I'm happy that as you found this movie up in the Norwegian Alps. I mean, I'm happy that you survived. Hopefully you brought some of that gold down from the mountains as well.
Is
as
that what they
shown in
were
the
looking
movie.
for up there? Oh, and then the
Yep.
first one?
Yeah,
In the
I
first
mean-
one? Yes.
Nazis want their gold back, and skiers accidentally have stumbled upon it.
And we know it's not Nazi gold. We know what kind of gold it is.
It's stolen Norwegian gold.
Oh, it's stolen from the
Yep.
Norwegians, right? Known for their gold. Nice little workaround there. Oh man, but yeah, what a trip it was. So I'd never seen Dead Snow, never heard of Dead Snow until John said, "Let's watch Dead Snow." It wasn't too tough to find it. It's on YouTube for starters. You can get Dead Snow 2 is definitely
Yeah.
everywhere. You can find that super easy.
Yes.
It's streaming free everywhere too. YouTube Premium, Amazon Prime. Dead Snow 1, there was shady copies up on YouTube, and I think it's on Shudder
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
as well. Okay.
So I couldn't find it on Shudder. I actually had to rent it from Amazon on that when I was looking for it, just to give a heads up on that one. I think it's in Shudder through the European market, not the American market, which I've noticed they've done that recently with certain select titles.
Okay. And who do you think the 14 cents from that rental is going to as far as the maker of the film? Which person's got the royalties for this or the rights?
Hopefully, it's Tommy.
I'm hoping
Yeah.
Ricola.
Who's
And
Tommy? Is he have a last
Ricola.
name?
Yeah.
Oh, Ricola. There
I'm
you go.
so happy I said that name right, because I was like, oh crap, I said that name totally wrong. I butchered it.
I spent like a good 15 minutes looking through interviews to try to see the pronunciation of his name, just to make sure not Tomi Verkola or Tommy Verkola or.
Once it gets into the Norwegian countries and things like that too, is he
He is,
Norwegian?
yes.
Like the Vanderslis or Slokens and Snorks and stuff. I mean, not to disparage you Vikings. I'm part Danish myself, but wow, your names are super tough. If you get into Iceland, it's a wrap. So we all watched it. Every one of us. I watched it for the first time.
So I'll be honest, I've heard of this film since 2009, senior year of high school, worked a part of television radio production. My friends kept talking about it, and I kept hearing about it and hearing about it. And I was really stuck on the old George A. Romero films, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead. So I had my flag up like, no, these are the best.
Mhm.
I'm not seeing it. With this, it allowed me to see this movie, of course, and I loved it. It gave me a lot of Evil Dead vibes, being a big fan of that. The first one, how it runs, and then how the second one runs, they correspond well with one another, especially with a lot of the comedy and the horror that's
So it's good that you bring up the Evil Dead, because in the interviews of Tommy Verkola that I went through, one of the things he points out is how much of an influence the Evil Dead movies and Sam Raimi are to him.
I could see it. Watching Evil Dead 1 and 2 was a rite of passage growing up. But the difference between Evil Dead 1 and 2 is pretty stark. Like, they ramp things up quite a bit in the second one. Although the first one's got some stuff. There's some, I'm thinking of Tree
Uh-huh.
Vines, for
Mhm.
example.
Well,
But the second one's, it's campier, it's a little bit more fast paced. And that definitely happens with Dead Snow too. The amount of action and how hilarious they lean into the comic relief in the second one so
Yeah.
hard too. It's so I'm thinking of the scene where the lady from the wheelchair she gets stomped out by a zombie Nazi. Like stuff like that in this movie. I was like, "Oh my god, you can't do that." It was so good, and it did remind me a lot. It's spiritually very similar to Evil Dead.
I just jumped to poor Bobby. I mean, there's a scene in the hospital where this kid's just his name's Bobby, he's just taking pictures, and this is in Dead Snow too. He's taking pictures of the arm and, like, he lets him go. He's like, "I'm gonna help you, all this," and he's just standing there, and the zombie arm just smacks this kid, and the kid goes flying out the window, and he's laying on the ground lifeless. Martin, actually, funny enough, the main character, Martin, he runs out the window, tries to help him. The arm's so strong, he doesn't know how to control it. He collapses the kid's chest, and you're watching this and you're like, "Holy shit, this is hilarious." But
I
this is
think
horrible at the same time. But that's the classic horror comedy right there.
it is. They kill so many kids though. Like the amount of dead kids in this movie is pretty high.
The tank
It's more
scene,
than one hand. Yeah, the tank.
the kids are like, "Look at the tank," and it's just like, like, it's like, "Oh my god." There goes the sandcastles.
Right. That was brutal. So, all right. So, for the fans, the people listening, if you have seen Dead Snow 2, great. If you haven't, John or Ryan's going to give you kind of a breakdown, a synopsis breakdown, a little bit of what these movies are and sort of what to expect. Why don't you let people know what this is looking like? Because we're sort of just giving snippets now.
So Dead Snow 1 is much smaller scale. You have a group of 8 supposedly going on a ski trip together. One of them is going to meet them there. Obviously, she never does. They accidentally stumble on some Nazi gold that was stolen from a town in Norway. And the Nazis are drawn to their gold. They rise from their snowy tombs and attack the snowboarder skiers.
The only reason we will leave our tombs is to find our Nazi gold.
That we stole anyway.
The background
Well,
music
yeah.
too is awesome, and that the soundtrack is awesome in that whole
It's all free use. So it's like
Exact
Beethoven. I thought it was in the Hall of the Mountain King, but Ode to Joy
Yes.
is in the first one. Well, that's Beethoven. But there's the yeah, that's the one. And I'm sitting there, I'm just like, oh, okay, they had no money. I get it. But it's just hilarious to see these scenes set to that music.
It matches up perfectly.
That kind of
I w
thing. You're just
I
like,
wanna
wow.
say, isn't that's in the first part, I think, with you talking
Yeah.
about how it opens with Sarah, the character
Yeah.
Sarah, she gets chased. That's I don't know, for 2009, that is such a good opening, and it's different because it just rocks right into you into the horror aspect. Because it's like you
Yeah.
don't know what the hell's going on, and it slowly builds up with the comedy and stuff, the simple tropes. But I do like it that they are looking for gold. Like, they have something that they're looking for. It's not, like, all about brains, and that's what makes it unique and different besides them being Nazis as well as they're actually calculating too, if you when you
Yeah.
watch
Yeah.
it. Like, the hiker scene, he they slit his throat, man. Like, he's like, you're on the edge of your seat ready to jump, and there's a zombie, and it's one quick swipe, and you see the neck blow up, and it's classic horror.
It's tough to kick out the Nazi in you even after death, you know? They like to slit some throats,
Yeah,
those
yeah.
Nazis. But, there's very good people on both sides. So the hikers probably had it coming. That's all I'm gonna
Yeah.
say.
They were simple medical students looking for a good time. They just needed a
Can
break.
I tell you, one of the funniest parts of the first one is the fact that Martin is a medical student who's afraid of blood.
Yes.
That is a good point.
So when
That is
Hannah
a good
cuts her
point.
finger, he's so clearly disgusted by the blood. It's such a good job of acting in that part too.
They go hard with the acting in the first one. They're trying their best, you can tell. It's not overacting, I don't wanna put that out there. For what the movie is, they're putting together a great performance with regard to how they react, their visceral reactions to when people get
Uh-huh.
destroyed by zombies or when they lose body parts to zombies. It's really good.
I mean, the scene where the Erlin scene, which is right before the live scene. Well, the Erlin scene, it's insane when they pop their fingers right into
Mhm.
his skull and just pop his skull open. I saw that, holy shit. this is the best graphics in this movie so far because you just see the brain pop, you see the skull pop, but the scene with Liv got me because I hate the whole thing with scalping. I get skeeved out by that, and I knew
Yeah.
it's an IFC film. I saw their version of Maniac. There is scalping in an IFC film always. Guaranteed. Even the what do you call it? The Butcher movie in the subway. Skipping on the name with Vinnie Jones and
Night
Bradley
Meat
Cooper.
Train.
It's based on a Clive Barker. Yes, based on a
Night
Clive
Meat
Barker
Train.
Midnight Meat Train.
Yeah.
Midnight Meat Train, episode 14, everybody. Midnight Meat Train is coming.
That's
Bradley
Bar-
Cooper. You sold me at Bradley Cooper.
And he's a photographer. Just
I'd
throwing it
scalp
out
him
there.
any day. Oh, even better. Even better. Even better. You know what's going to be good? Actually, I'm going to make Ryan come when they finally make Blood Meridian into a film. The late, great Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian is my favorite book. The amount of scalping that takes place in that from the Comanche is out of control. I'd say 2/3 of the characters in that, both large and small, get scalped at some point. So, Ryan, I'm going to make you come to the movie with me. We're going to watch that in IMAX.
I'll watch it. I'm down for it. It's just rough because it's like it's fake, but then you see the peel, and then like everything's just like yeah. That was my. We should cover Maniac one day, the original and the remake. That's
Absolutely.
Degloving in general, which is what scalping kind of is, degloving the top of your head, but degloving is when the skin is peeled off in a grotesque fashion from your body part. That haunts me. So yeah, I get it.
that happened, and I called it too, and it happened in the second film. I'm not gonna. It just it was quick. I was able to be like, okay, just right off like a Band-Aid.
Literally.
But when I see that scene with Liv, because you hear the hair ripping, it's like her
Yeah.
reaction, and you hear everyone, you feel like the tensity, and you feel like, as a viewer, you feel the anxiety, like, oh shit, I feel like I'm a part of them. Like, what are we gonna do? And then you're like, oh wait, I'm safe at home, drinking my seltzer or my water, watching this. All right, we're in the clear. But shit, I feel what they're going through.
It's good stuff. My favorite parts have to be when we're down to like the last two heroes in the first film. Before we get into the second one, which has a crazy twist. Well, I think of it as a twist anyway. But at the end of so you've got the last stand, which is it's the hammer and sickle, right? And then the chainsaw against a small squadron of zombies, zombie Nazis, I'd say. And they go full John Wick. That's about the skinny of it. It's pure macabre melee goodness, just blood splatter everywhere.
I'm happy they were good at melee because after Roy threw that Molotov cocktail, I got really worried. I got it, and it's just okay. And he was better with the melee weapons, of course, as we saw.
Yeah. Well, he didn't make it through that scene, if I remember correctly.
Well, he did. Hannah did not. That was a shocker. I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah.
They're
Roy and
la-
Martin are, and then we get bit.
Martin gets his arm bit. You know, in typical, more recent zombie movie fashion, it's we have to stop the infection. We're cutting it off. So he gets the arm cut off
Right.
and almost immediately gets bit somewhere else. And he's not cutting that off.
His facial reaction to it is priceless too, because you're like, "Oh, is this happening?" And he's just looking up, and he's like, "No, I'm not cutting this off. We'll just leave it alone. We'll leave it alone right now."
Now, speaking of Evil Dead from earlier, I was expecting the arm to reanimate and attack him.
Yes. I could see where you get that expectation from. It's definitely, and the arm definitely takes on a life of its own in the second one.
Well, all right. So the first one ends with him making it through. He loses an arm, but the second one John's referencing, he sews on. So the second movie, the Nazi zombies have not been vanquished. They're back with a vengeance, and he becomes like uber badass because now he's got a whole movie's worth of knowledge about them. So he's the guy. He's the Van Helsing of this. If you remember last episode, me making fun of Van Helsing, or not Van Helsing, but the guy from Nosferatu. But yeah, so he ends up getting one of the zombie arms, and he grafts that onto his own stump. So now he's got an uber strong zombie arm. But that's not the coolest part of the second movie. The coolest part of the second movie is where they recruit their help from to fight the zombies.
Yes. Yes. I mean, it's in the title, Dead Snow 2, Red versus Dead. And the
Yeah.
red is a reference to a platoon of Soviet soldiers massacred by the Nazis.
They reanimate a bunch of dead Soviet soldiers to fight the dead Nazi soldiers. And it's exactly what you want it to be. It's got to be 40 minutes of just pure bloodshed.
Yep. And Martin gets help from the zombie squad, who, when they're introduced, do you have any belief that the zombie squad is going to have any clue how to do anything?
No. They're just like the ghost squads and stuff. You think they're charlatans.
And then it turns out they kind of do.
Well, they lean heavily into their it's super campy. And they lean into that super hard, those actors, the American actors. They're very much so like making fun of themselves, or at least their character types. And when they're suiting up and things like that, trying to look all badass, like that's cool. And Brian and I, before we started recording, we're talking about there's like a solid A-list actor, a Seth Rogenite in this film.
Martin Starr. Martin Starr, he is the leader of the zombie squad group, as they're called in the film, which he was in Knocked Up. He's the gentleman. If you ever see Knocked Up, he grows the beard for the year. He was also in The Incredible Hulk and all of the recent Spider-Man films. His evolution's funny as he becomes like an intern, he becomes a professor and a high school teacher throughout the films. It was a nice little, I had to actually, like, when I saw that part of the film and saw him, I was like, wait a minute, there's no way he's in this film. I was like, oh, okay. All right, there we go. Doing a little thing. And he played it perfectly. I did like his role. One of his sisters, though, she kept cracking me up because she kept making Star Wars references. And they were just like, just stop. Just stop.
Yeah.
It's the ending when she's like, may the force be with you. And they're like, that's the best one. That's the best line you could have came up with.
So that
I mean, I think she just went there for the trip.
so that guy, the head of the zombie squad guy, was also in one of my new favorite Christmas movies called There's Something in the Barn, which is it's also
nice.
set in Norway, and the something in the barn is a barn gnome or barn elf. And it's not an elf.
They don't tend to be. People forget. So the Germanic traditions, I'm going to go full nerd here, guys. The Germanic traditions invented elves, made popular by Tolkien afterward. I wouldn't say stolen. He didn't steal anything, but he took a lot of their lore, interwoven into the Lord of the Rings, Silmarillion, Hobbit universe. And that's how we became aware of it. But elves were not welcome by these people. They were not good to have around. They screwed stuff up, and they're also not like cute little people all the time either. They can often be like actual ghoulish, scary, terrifying spirit entities and things like that. So I don't want an elf in my barn. I don't want an elf on my shelf. That's for true.
No.
Whatsoever. So this movie's
This family comes into a house in, I believe it's also Norway, and the barn that comes with the house is inhabited by a barn elf. And the youngest child tries to befriend the elf, but that doesn't really go particularly well, as you could imagine.
I
wanna
watched
say I've
someone
seen it.
recently with an Airbnb style setup, and the family's at this Airbnb. I think they're American, and it's, two kids, parental folk, and they're not supposed to talk to the neighbors. It's part of the contract, and it's because the neighbors are elves, and they get pissed off. And I think one of the kids ends up getting kidnapped, and that's like the end of the movie. It's really good. I got to figure out what the hell it was called. But I need to see more movies out of that area of the world.
I have a few more.
Actually sounds like a really good plot.
I bet you have a few more. What about Trolls? Troll Hunter, rather.
Yep.
That was probably one of the best examples in recent memory. I mean, recent memory. How old is that movie now?
15 or so years.
Late 80s?
No,
90s?
Yeah, it's probably no. It's somewhat new. It's Troll. Not. I think you're thinking of a Troll like the little guy. Who?
Yes.
Yeah, that was old school late 80s. That's a different vibe altogether. Troll Hunter was a
Yeah.
good movie. It felt like you were watching a pure Hollywood sort of blockbuster style film. And it ends well too. It goes hard through the ending.
That
And
movie's
there's big
that
trolls.
guy's made a few movies, so
It did-
don't ask me to pronounce his name because it not only is it Scandinavian, it's got letters with slashes through it, and I don't know how to pronounce that. But of Jane Doe also, which is stellar.
Okay.
That's phenomenal. Yeah, that's a great. I didn't know
Yep.
he did that.
Same dude.
That movie scared the absolute crap out of me.
Yeah.
I remember Troll Hunter came out around the same time that Monsters came out, which was somewhat indie feeling in its. I don't know if it was indie, but it felt indie, and that was another fantastic movie that was sort of not underappreciated, but like it was exciting to see these newer movies coming out, and then I guess the Southern Reach trilogy books dropped the movie where she goes into a bubble around an area and it's his own
Oh,
ecosystem.
yeah.
It was it's a completely forgettable movie. The books are very good.
I'm not Divergent. I might be thinking of something.
Annihilation.
That was like the end of those good movies, those good indie-ish kind of
Mhm.
movies. But yeah, you saw Monsters, right, Brian?
No, I didn't. I did not.
That's the one. That's the one where it's like an allegory for the immigration issues we've been having for some time in Mexico and the United States. A meteorite drops and gives rise to monsters, like giant squid-like Cthulhu-esque monsters in Mexico, and they cordon off a contamination zone. And like a guy gets hired to go down there and bring some guy's daughter back, a rich dude. But there's a giant wall that was built, but like a real one, like a big ass wall, like Jurassic Park style wall. And he's got to get her back and through that wall and then into the U.S. And I think the movie ends with them in El Paso, and there's two squids at the 7-Eleven walking by, and that's the end of the
Ye-
movie.
Yes, I have seen that. I remember the ending with the squids walking out, and there's just I haven't seen it in a long time, but I know what you're talking about.
That was a good movie.
There's a lot of good movies that a lot of people don't talk about nowadays in that realm, and it's slowly coming back, surely but ever. I mean, when they do Dead Snow 3 in this type of realm, it's going to bring more attention back to that style. I think it is slowly but surely, but it's all mostly out in Europe, though.
I mean, that's where they have the time and wherewithal and the funding to make these movies, because nobody here wants to take a risk. In this climate of streaming and stuff like that, it's tricky. You would think we would get better content and more of it, but it's throttling creativity a little bit right now, and it kind of sucks.
You got the fairy tale monster thing going on. I think it's the fairy tale monsters, what they're calling it, with the Winnie the Pooh 2, the Blood and Honey. They're coming out with Peter Pan, Bambi. I get it's like redoing classic like kids' tales for the modern horror era, but it's given that modern horror edge to it with that B movie flair.
Yeah.
They had
Yeah.
the Grinch one too. The mean
The
one. I
mean
think,
one was
right?
okay. The Winnie the Pooh one was bad. Bad. Like it wasn't even fun. If you're gonna do something like that, it's gotta at least be fun.
It's everything that's coming out free use, Ryan, where the copyrights run out. That's what they're scooping up and making the movies out of. Yeah, I'm with John though. Make them well, make it good at least, or lean into making them
Yeah.
bad. Don't try to be in between the two.
The Peter Pan one looks good. That one looks decent. The Pinocchio one, they got the guy who created Chucky from the first Child's Play to create that Pinocchio. So it does have that early Chucky look from 1988. So that's going to be, I think, creepy in the realm of the B movie to A movie. I mean, at least they're trying. I can say that.
Yeah,
And they're here in the States, which is unique because usually it's a copy of something. And yeah, it's a copy, but it's
okay.
that B movie homage, I would say. But yeah, no, I need something original. I mean, looks original. So shout that out real quick.
I don't know. I'm worried about the future of. Well, I guess we've all kind of gotten zombied out. So I'm wondering what the future zombie films are going to look like. Like Dead Snow 3, we know what to expect there. But as far as blockbuster style ones, like World War Z, and they sort of drove everything into the ground. So I'm hoping for the same thing that John's hoping for. And that's going to be that we see the traditional zombie movies come back.
So I would like to see them redo World War Z, but not as a movie. If you've read the book, it's perfect for one of those short max type series, like an 8 to 10 episode
Yeah.
TV series. It would be perfect for
Well,
that.
why didn't they do that?
'Cause-
Right? We just saw Secret Level. We've got Love, Death, and
Yeah.
Robots and stuff like that. Make an animated version with 16 episodes, 25 to 40-minute episodes, and just do it right.
I think when they made the World War Z movie, it was just that slight bit ahead of Max and the short series stuff.
They had Brad Pitt on it, so I mean, I think Brad Pitt really loved the story. So of course they were gonna try to make the money out of it. But I do agree with John. They should have kitty.
Hmm.
They should have it as a TV show, and as they do with Secret Level and Love, Death, and Robots, it would work in that universe.
Yeah, it'd just be easy to
Mhm.
do. CGI style. If you wanted to actually do animated episodes, North American Lake Monsters is the short story collection by Nate Bollingrud that was turned into the Hulu short series. It's got a Black Mirror quality, but it leans further into horror than Black Mirror does. Well, it doesn't lean, it is horror, and that would work well too, a 20-minute, 30-minute episode style thing. For those of people who haven't read World War Z, it's episodic. They're snippet stories of what's going on during the zombie outbreak. So, like the Battle of Yonkers scene, imagine what it would be like to live in the suburbs of New York City when all the zombies are rushing out of the city into the burbs. So the government makes a last stand in Yonkers, which, would be for those of us who are local to the area, Yonkers would be where I would definitely
Yeah.
set up my last stand. But it's episodic. There are snippets of the tale. It's not told in a linear way. Slow zombies again.
Absolutely.
I know we have
We need slow zombies.
Yeah, I know you do too.
Slow zombies are scarier.
But we need somebody who's smart enough to make them work.
Mhm.
They are scarier.
So we're getting at least one George Romero based zombie movie in the next year or so. Yeah, they've
Really?
taken some of his unfinished stuff and finished it. So they did that with a couple books he had started. The Living Dead, which he did ended up being finished by this guy named Daniel Kraus. Really good. I don't think it was necessarily critically well acclaimed, but it's really good because it
Yeah.
this base mindless killing machine into something that starts to think and act as like a group. And
A hive mind. Yeah.
and then the book takes it to the level where they're just basically full on communicating. And like it's a much scarier vision at that point.
Well, there's two things I can think of that took that idea and ran with it. Cell, Stephen King's Cell.
Mm.
The people are it's not necessarily zombies. They get you brainwashed, whatever, taken over by the phone signal. But they
Mhm.
start out as rampaging psychopaths, and then they all become coalesced into one working unit. And I Am
Yep.
Legend. People who saw the movie don't realize this, but in I Am Legend, what are they called? Night stalkers, or something
night-
like that.
The Night Stalkers, I think, yes.
Night Stalkers.
Yep.
They're communicating and have their own society and stuff now, and feelings, and they like they care about each other, which is super bizarre at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, that idea, it's definitely something that people have taken and gone with, but I guess a lot of people out there probably don't know that that's original to the first series, the George A. Romero Night of the Living Dead evolution of zombie.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that
It makes me wonder how long he's had that idea for. Like, was he evolving it over time? He did Night of the Living Dead. He did Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead. Was it something he had like developed already, or was he developing it over time? I wonder.
it seems like he sort of always had that plan. Like night, they're just, random sort of violent people killers. And then dawn, they get a little more
Mm.
involved. They start to have memories and things. Like that's a big part of the block to them all is the memory of what they did when they were alive. And then day, you get the next evolution, which is sort of brought on by science and Dr. Frankenstein experimenting with Bub, trying to humanize it. And then he go, and then there's land, and now you have the
That's where the horde sort of
yeah.
changes. It shifts a little bit. But see, the horde aspect is what I like about Night of the Living Dead. So what made it scary to me as a kid was the creeping aspect. There's 3, now there's 13, now there's 30, now there's 300. And you can handle it, you can handle it, you can handle it, you can't
Yep.
handle it. You can't handle it. And that's what made that movie so scary, you know? Get the keys for the pump.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, there's so many missteps, and they earn their deaths in
Mhm.
that very well, but, like, one of the endings for that, I never saw this ending, but my Uncle Billy told me that there's an ending to Night of the Living Dead where they're all walking across the Brooklyn Bridge.
I don't think I've ever seen that ending
Maybe
either.
he's thinking of a
He might
different
be thinking of
apparently there's 2 or 3.
yeah, he might also be thinking of Zombie 2, because I'm pretty sure that's the end of Zombie 2. Yeah. That's one we should do someday too.
I'm down. I liked Dead
that's
Snow, but Dead Snow 2, that's fast zombies. But it's fast zombies with a good gimmick, so it gets a
yes.
pass.
Yeah.
Yes.
It gets a pass for sure. But I do prefer Team Slow Zombie. I like my slow zombies. One of the scariest short stories I ever read. Actually, I don't even know if there's slow zombies in the short story, but it's the perspective of a mother in the suburbs, and the zombie outbreak occurs, and it's what would probably happen to a small family in the suburbs should that occur. It's brutal. It's a brutal story. Like, you put it down, you're like, now I have to go to bed. That was awful. It's brutal. So I just find slow zombies to be so much scarier. The fast zombies to me, 28 Days Later reference again and stuff like that. It's more actiony,
Mhm.
and that's why Brad Pitt signed up for World War Z, fast
Yeah.
zombies. So he could run from zombies,
Yeah.
and they would run at him.
I mean, the thing about fast zombies for me is I'm not gonna outrun them. They're gonna get me, and it's not gonna be that scary. I'm gonna run for 20 feet, and I'm gonna be dead. The slow zombie
That's Zombieland
yeah.
cardio.
Yeah. The slow zombies,
Double tap.
you have this expectation in your mind, "Oh, they're slow. I can get away from them. I can." They just keep coming. They don't stop, and then you don't
It's the best part too. It's the tortoise and the hare. It's no matter what, they're going to amble their way to you have to sleep.
Mhm.
You have to find food. You can't just run the whole time. So it's stuff like that. That's what makes it more fun for me. There's an ambiguous aspect to it. Fast zombies, it's just too quick. They're overwhelming predators. You're dead. It'd be like it's Siberian tigers. Like, let's drop 2.5 million Siberian tigers on the United States. It's going to be the same result as
It
fast
doesn't make
zombies.
it scary. It doesn't make it
Right.
scary. It just loses all the appeal. And I'm probably gonna get backlash on this, but curse Zack Snyder for bringing the running zombie in Dawn of the Dead, a movie that should never have been remade. I get it. It's good for him. If it was a different title, cool. But I'm not starting on that rant. But damn it for the fast zombie, because they're moving slow. You shoot one in the damn head. It's like, all right, I made it, and then you look back and there's like a whole group,
Mhm.
and they're just slowly moving.
Yeah, and it's also
They're drawn to the sound too. So, you know, it's
the
pretty quiet place. Don't make noise or they're going to find
right, and that's another thing I like about it. The Anne Frank aspect of
Mhm.
all of that, where it's like, I mean, it all comes from somewhere,
Mhm.
guys. Hiding in the closet and waiting for them to kick in the door when you fart
Mhm.
or something
Mhm.
like that. That's the way it goes. And there's always going to be somebody with a baby, and you feel like you got to help them, and the baby cries, and the zombies kill you. That's kind of the way it goes. But the slow zombie death occurred when Americans at large got semi-automatic weapons in their houses. The whole slow zombie thing got ruined because it's one doomsday prepper to take out how many zombies
Mhm.
when you think about it. So that's why people aren't making slow zombie movies anymore.
I'll throw this out there. The Walking Dead, for as long as it's on, as it's been on for 11 seasons, the spin-offs, all that. I'll say I stopped at season 9. They had the slow zombie. And I think as the show progressed, they evolved slowly, and they had all the technology and stuff, but they made it work because everything kind of crashed down, right? Society crashed down. There's no saving. And that's kind of like I would say the reality of it in a zombie apocalypse is that, shit's done. And in Land of the Dead, it's that same reference because I've never seen Land of the Dead, but they're caged off, right? The zombies are on one other side of the cage and then they're like supposedly protected. Like, okay, so that's the best they can do. And that's what they eventually do in The Walking Dead. So I don't
The
know. I feel like
prison kind of does that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I left The Walking Dead at the Whispers. Post
okay.
Rick death Whispers, I think, is like right around where I dumped out. It just got
Oh,
bad.
I think you both made it further.
I
Hey,
just saw Negan throw that bat.
I didn't even get to him. I had tapped out before him. Before Negan. I didn't even make it that far.
Negan. Well, it was super repetitive before Negan. When the maker, I forget his name, said that he could do the same thing for 20 more seasons and people would still watch.
Mhm.
It's like it's that level of arrogance that's going to destroy you. And he was done after another
And
season.
Romero
After
recognized
3.
that The Walking Dead was actually bad for the zombie movie he wanted to make. Because after The Walking Dead, they started throwing bigger budgets at him and said, oh, we'll give you $40-50 million to make this zombie movie. He didn't want to make it that way. He wanted to make it on a small budget the way he'd always done it. And it just wasn't available for him to do it.
Right.
It's crazy when you hear a director say no to more money for their film.
That's
And
a person with integrity, dude.
yes,
I love it.
George A. Romero was one of the greatest overall horror directors from
Oh, yeah.
overall, like not even a generation, just overall one of the greatest because of that integrity and just his mindset. There's so many undertones we can get in. We're not going to get into it tonight, but there's so many undertones in each of his films that you're like, oh my God, like it's more than a horror film. This is what the message he's delivering. The man was smart.
Yeah.
And, it's sad that a lot of people are noticing it now more than ever, but that's where it is. It's all an homage.
Well,
Going back to
eventually
Django,
Romero
but
won't be making films anymore, So we've got to get people making homages and people getting ready to fill that gap at some point and things of that nature. But speaking of budgets, by the way, and Dead Snow, the first movie probably cost $6 to make. And somebody had a bunch of Nazi memorabilia and they pulled it out of their grandpa's basement, and they made that movie. Because you could tell by the chainsaw in that movie is worse than mine. So I know how much of a piece of crap my chainsaw is. So I'm surprised it isn't battery powered. It's a chainsaw. So the second movie though has got a budget. The second movie actually they spent some money on. What do you think they spent? Prosthetics alone.
300? I'd go with 300.
300,000?
300,000
for
for that
the second
time?
movie? I think
2014.
more. 2014 Dead Snow 2 came out?
Yep.
Oh wow. 300,000 in 2014. I'm guessing $1 million.
Easily.
I mean, they've got to pay that actor too, Martin. It's got to be 5 to 15 million is my guess. We're gonna find out soon.
I'm looking.
Somebody's looking at his
I'm
phone over
looking.
here.
You make up a good point, but I think it was right after he was in Knocked Up. I don't know. Maybe 500,000 I'll go up.
500.
200,000. I'm just thinking the time period, the amount of the budget, like definitely over $1 million now, I would think. Possibly
Well, not
could
in
be that
today's
here.
money. What do you think, John?
We can do Norwegian to US dollars because I found the Norwegian dollars.
Oh God. I mean,
I
I can
think-
do that too. How much is it in Norwegian groupies or whatever they're called?
35 million.
Ooh. All right. 35 million. 35 million. So 1 Norwegian krone, 35 million. 35. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. Translates into, it's not that big of a difference. It's 3 million, roughly 3 million US dollars
Okay.
in 2014. So I was over with 5 to 15. And that's for Dead Snow 2. Sorry, my face is right here.
Because of the tank.
I had to get close to type on the lappy toppy. That's not too bad. I thought it would be more, but 2014, so in today's dollars, but we're not going to play that game.
No, but today's it's about all in.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
$1 trillion. I mean, how much do you think they paid that actor? They didn't even pay him $1 million?
He didn't get that much.
He doesn't even make $1 million for Knocked Up, probably.
He grew his beard. He had to grow his beard for a year.
Yeah.
Just cameo scenes.
Just happy to be there. That's brutal. He was in the spin-off series too, wasn't he, on HBO? The hacker one or whatever, the IT guys. Silicon Valley, wasn't he in that one? So he was
was.
making a little money. I mean, his stock went up quite a bit.
Oh, he's funny. He's got that he's like that deadpan humor type deal. As TJ
Yeah.
Miller is like losing his shit on the side, which I
Yeah.
appreciate though.
I like TJ Miller a lot. If you haven't heard him tell about his seizure story, and then it's on This Is Not Happening. You can find it pretty easily. It's pretty good. And yeah, TJ Miller is TJ Miller. It's entertaining to watch. Let's get TJ Miller in not Walking Dead, and Night of the Living Dead. Then we've got ourselves a film.
I want to see him in Dead Snow 3. I mean, they're gonna have a zombie Hitler, supposedly. That's the rumor.
We knew that it was going there. Did we get Zombie Stalin yet? Because that's got to be who do you get to take out Zombie Hitler?
You're gonna need zombie Stalin, zombie Churchill, and zombie Roosevelt.
It dawned on me as you were beginning to speak, and I was like, "Oh, this has potential."
But then you have
way up.
You have zombie Mussolini coming from the background.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I had to mention.
Just so everybody can make fun of him.
Yeah, and throw zombie Hirohito in there too. Just make it the whole thing.
Yes.
That's a long journey to dig up Hirohito.
Well, ironically, Werkola, doing research on it, he went into like World War II history, and this is very history accurate. I like at least the background for why the Nazis are with the gold and everything. There's a nice little background to it. It's based on supposedly true events during that time. Them becoming zombies, not true though. Just
We think that's not true.
What are they doing down in the South Pole, man?
I'm not going up in those mountains. Damn.
You don't know what's happening in the South Pole right now. The drones over New Jersey, it's all connected, Ryan.
Yeah.
Zombie gold.
Yep.
It's fueling dark economy.
Herzog will come out of nowhere. It's a
I just want to hear his voice. I want Herzog's voice to be my alarm clock in the morning. Every time you mention his name, I just hear him in my head. I can't imitate him, and I want to so badly. It's the most harrowing voice I've ever heard come out of a human. Werner Herzog. He should be part of some of this too. He would never, though.
No way.
No.
Not a chance. Takes himself too seriously. He was in a Jack Reacher movie, though. So he can get off his high horse a little bit if he's in the Jack Reacher.
Listen,
films.
Don't get me started on the Jack Reacher movies. Shit ever.
The show's better.
The show is decent. Movies are the most miscast garbage ever. The characters like 6'4", 6'5", and Jack. Well, here's Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
5-0.
Yeah, here's Tom Cruise. But it's sold tickets. Sold tickets. That's true, though. The show is okay. The show's got chops. That came out. Night Agent also.
Yep.
Pulls on that a little bit, but whatever.
That's come out with
more
the second
amped
season.
up. Is it?
Night Agent, yeah.
I'm sure
just
it
got
is.
announced. Reacher's getting the 3rd season. I mean, it's doable.
The thirst trap shows.
Exactly. You's getting a 4th season. Come on, everyone wants to see that carbon copy of Dexter on Netflix. Come on now.
That's true. That's true.
Sorry, not to throw that on there. I mean, it's a good show, but it's Dexter for women. I'll say it.
Wasn't
I will say it.
Wait. Wasn't Dexter for women?
A little bit. Yeah.
A little, yes. Yes, when he's squeezing the orange and all that in that close up.
Right.
Yes. Flipping those pancakes. Putting on the button
Women are
down.
obsessed with not just bad boys, but women are obsessed with downright animals when it comes to stuff like that. I'm looking at my wife right now because this is hitting hard. Like Dexter, ladies loving serial killers. Like, oh, it's a teenage girl. She's going through her bad boy phase. It's not a phase. They need help. They need people to help them stay away from serial killers.
Mm-hmm.
Dexter season 1, 2, 4, 5. Trinity was a whole different animal. But oh my God. It's
Original
true.
Sin's coming
You
out.
guys are original sin.
The high school
Oh,
years.
wow.
It's like the Carrie Diaries, but more death.
Uh,
That's how that's going.
So, predictions for Dead Snow 3. We've got Churchill FDR zombie, Stalin zombie coming to take down Hitler zombie, which would be pretty phenomenal. Not gonna lie. And I mean, that would tie up the last 45 minutes to an hour of the movie right there. Just getting them, reanimating them, and
yep.
Zombie World War III.
zombie World War 3. That'd be pretty sweet too. When is Dead Snow 3 supposed to come out?
No date at the moment. It's mostly just rumors and pre-production, maybe.
No. Well, just having 1 and 2 is enough of a treat, to be honest. We're getting greedy, hoping for 3. But when Dead Snow 3 does drop, it's gonna be enormous. It's gonna break the bank. I'm guessing they're gonna spend 4 trillion Norwegian rolls on it, and it'll be the best movie we've ever seen.
No lines, just groaning.
So, what was your favorite moment in Dead Snow 2, Ryan?
My favorite moment from Dead Snow 2, and when Martin, he's unchained by Bobby, and the arm just kind of goes out of control and hits Bobby out the window. And Martin, feeling so bad, tries to rescue Bobby by giving him CPR and crushes his chest in. I was horrified, but laughing hysterically at the same time. I just love that scene. It's really one of the go-tos for Dead Snow for the scenes wise.
Yeah, it was pretty good. You're not gonna beat the old lady getting stomped out for me. You're not gonna beat it.
That's after she
Well,
gets
it's
thrown
also
down.
Yeah, it's true. Well, she's trying to wheel herself away. I'm
No,
talking
she's
the
getting
wheelchair
pushed.
lady.
She's getting
She's getting pushed.
Oh,
Oh,
wait, are you talking about
maybe I
the
messed it up.
second one
Oh,
or the
yeah.
first one? Because the
Yeah,
second
the
one,
second
she's
one.
getting pushed, and the girl runs away, and she falls, and the zombie's
And then
just
she
like,
falls.
"Screw
Yeah, he just stomps on her head and crushes it. It crushes like a freaking cantaloupe, and I just
Mhm.
died laughing. I was like, "This is the best part of the movie by far." Just done.
Though mine is like that whole scene, first town that they really attack, and they come in with the tank and they crush the kids in the sandbox, and then they're in those people's bathroom while the wife's taking a bath and the guy's taking a dump. First off, who does same time? Is that like a cultural thing I'm not aware of? Who?
No, there are animals who do that here too. I've talked to
Yes.
people
No,
like that.
It has to be separate.
no,
Separate.
no,
Not a chance. I don't wanna smell hers.
Yeah.
I don't want her to smell mine.
no,
That's the
no.
end of
You
it.
can't.
That's
You
the
can't
conversation.
do that. That's not the way that's supposed to work.
There's also a nonchalant line in there saying about, well, I think it's the guests. Are the guests welcome to come join them as well? I'm
Oh, yeah.
just saying on that. They're like, yeah, the guests are here. Are they joining you while you're taking a dump and taking a bath? I
You know what's also amazing about that scene though? The camera mounting on the ceiling, the top-down view. They had some good camera work in that second movie. Like I said, I'm
Mhm.
talking about how it's upgraded quite a bit. There's some artistic
Yep.
license taken and stuff like that. They do a really good job with their budget.
Mhm. My runner-up scene is perfect.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's
fills
good
the guy
stuff.
with hay.
Yeah.
He like loads him up with hay, and he's just piling
Mhm.
hay on him, and then staples. He gets like the compressor thing for the truck. He's like, "Kunk, kunk," and it's like, "What? That's really gonna help, man. A good effort."
He turned him into a scarecrow.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
best part.
Oh, that's actually funny. Actually, the irony if he only had a brain because he's a zombie, he's looking for braids.
There you go.
There you go.
So I also
I don't know if it's that smart though.
no. I don't think it was an intended reference.
it's not.
But it works. So I want to point out though that
Mhm.
Stavrin, the head Soviet zombie, that's Derek Mears. So if you've paid attention to horror, Derek Mears has played Jason in the Friday remake. He's been the Predator.
Oh.
Okay.
He's been Swamp Thing. He's been Krampus. He's like
Okay.
just the go-to monster guy. So he's really perfect in there.
You know what? Was he the guy they brought in when Jean-Claude Van Damme didn't work out as the Predator?
No, that was a different dude, but he was in, I forget, I think the most recent Predator, he was the Predator. Like
Oh,
Predators.
Prey.
No, not sorry, I
Oh,
forgot about
Prey.
Prey. Predators.
Okay.
I believe that was
That
him.
holds up.
Yeah.
Cool. That's cool as hell. His name's Derek Mears for
Derek
people, if you wanna
Mears.
look up his IMDb.
He's the one with the long red beard. The one he comes out of nowhere. He's like all like stern. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna bust some Nazi heads." That's the guy, right?
Yes. Yep, that guy.
Okay. He
Cool,
had the
man.
he had the movement of a Jason. I was watching it and stuff. He was moving like a killer. I was like, all right.
Okay. So, let's wrap up for everybody, we're getting along here. What's the top 5 zombie alternative movies or alternative zombie movies you guys would recommend?
Go ahead, Ryan. You can go first this time.
All right. I would recommend from 5 down, Shaun of the Dead at number 5. Love that movie.
Quality.
Nice little comedy. Nice homage to George Romero. Number 4, Return of the Living Dead. Love that movie, that zaniness and the horror and stuff.
Now, my last 3 picks are from the great mind and father of the zombie film, George A. Romero. My third pick would be Dawn of the Dead. It is important within the zombie movie genre and the most famous for the idea of a group of survivors trapped in a shopping mall, trying to, of course, survive and eventually escape from a horde of zombies surrounding it. I admit, I saw this later on in life, but I loved it from the first day I saw it for the uniqueness of the story and the characters which are featured. My second pick would be Day of the Dead. It was the first zombie film I ever watched, and I was hooked. From zombies basically overtaking the world, people trapped underground, and a crazy scientist who teaches the zombie bub to be a human once again, it's a movie all horror fans should experience. Plus, the opening scene with zombies coming through the wall will be stuck in with me for the rest of my life. Last but not least, my first pick is Night of the Living Dead. It's the film that started the zombie genre and the best zombie film of all time. This horror and suspense throughout the story via the characters truly show not only the dangers of zombies, but the true horror which can be the people around you.
All right, so my list I did a little differently. There's no Romero on here because if I did a top 5 zombie movies and included Romero, it would be all Romero.
That's fair, it would be all Romero.
And I left out a lot of the other bigger ones like No Return, no Shaun of the Living Dead, none of those. I went a little more obscure. So at number 5, I went with One Cut of the Dead, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's an Asian movie. It's shot in one cut. And it's just them making a zombie movie that turns into real zombies.
Oh, that's pretty sweet,
Yeah.
actually. That sounds good. What's the name of that again?
One Cut of the Dead.
Awesome.
One Cut of the Dead. All right, cool. I gotta watch that.
4 is Zombies Destruction. Came out at the time as Dead. It's a little cuter, but it's got a lot of the commitments that really work for this genre sometimes. Number 3 is The Battery, which is really it's just 2 minor league baseball players traveling around in a car trying to survive. Next is 2 is Zombie for Sale, which is another Asian one. It's just bonkers. Asian zombie movies are always bonkers.
Yeah, they're always crazy, the
Always.
Asian zombie films.
Yeah.
And then my number 1 is Cuban. It feels very Cuban, very sort of cut off from everything. It's Juan of the Dead.
Somebody should get sued for that.
Someone should.
That's ridiculous.
It's amazing.
Juan of the Dead. Oh my God. Amazing is a word. Amazing is a word. Nice. All right. I was trying to think of something that you guys might have left out, but yours are so off my radar, John. And the ones you chose, Ryan, are awesome. I can't think of anything that fits in the mold, especially after disparaging fast zombies for an hour. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap things up. I hope you guys enjoyed our Dead Snow episode, Dead Snow 1 and 2. Hopefully they make it Dead Snow 3. Guys, have anything you want to say to the listeners?
Guys, just watch some horror. Have fun. Adios.
Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time.